Hi, welcome to Satoshi Radio, the place where you learn everything about Bitcoin. I'm Bart and today we're setting up our own Lightning node. Alright, get comfortable because we're in for a packed episode. By the end of this episode, we'll have installed our own Lightning node, opened payment channels and linked our node to our phone. Additionally, throughout the episode, I will explain exactly how the Lightning Network works and what you will need to keep in mind. So let's not waste any time with the introductions and dive right in. So let's grab a laptop, open a browser and navigate to our Umbrel node. To install a Lightning node, the Bitcoin node must be fully synchronized. Don't have the Bitcoin node running yet? Do that first. We covered that in the previous episodes. We click on the App Store and search for the Lightning Node app. We can choose between two Lightning implementations, LND and C Lightning. We won't delve too deeply into the differences in this video. Because many of the extra plugins I want to use only work with LND, we'll choose that implementation for now. So we click on the LND implementation and on the LND page we click Install in the top right corner. After the app is installed, we click on Open. The Lightning Node app opens on a new page. We get two choices. Recover your previous node and set up a new node. We're going to set up a new node, so we click on Set up a new node. After this, we will see the 24 words that serve as the backup for the on-chain wallet. But on-chain wallet, we were going to install a Lightning wallet, right? Let me explain it for a bit. We use the term Bitcoin layer to describe Bitcoin layer 2s, sidechains and other scaling protocols. There are many definitions that exist for the term layer 2. We view layer 2s as protocols that take transaction execution off-chain, ensure users retain full custody of their assets, and additionally enable unilateral exit from the system via a layer 1 transaction. Alright, so a layer 2 is a layer on top of Bitcoin where transactions can be executed. Users can switch back to the first layer whenever they want and always retain control of their own Bitcoin. This is still quite theoretical. Perhaps it helps to illustrate it. The Lightning Network, the second layer that we're talking about in this video, consists out of nodes. For this example, we will use two nodes. Node 1 has an on-chain balance of 5 million satoshis, that's 0.05 Bitcoin. Node 2 has an on-chain balance of 0 Bitcoin. Node 1 opens a payment channel of 5 million sats to Node 2. Opening a payment channel happens via an on-chain transaction. The on-chain balance becomes 0. All Bitcoin are now on the second layer, the Lightning Network. The total balance of Node 1 remains 5 million sats, and that of Node 2 remains 0. Node 1 can now make an off-chain transaction to Node 2. Let's say they want to send 1 million sats. The off-chain balance of Node 1 is now 4 million sats, 5 minus 1, and that of Node 2 is now 1 million sats, 0 plus 1. Let's do a second transaction, 2 million sats from Node 1 to Node 2. The balance of Node 1 is now 2 million sats, and that of Node 2 is 3 million sats. Alright, one last transaction the other way around. 500,000 sats from Node 2 to Node 1. Both nodes now end up with a balance of 2.5 million sats. Node 2 decides that it's time to close the channel. This is the unilateral exit we have talked about before. Both users can decide to close the channel at any time. Closing a channel is again done via an on-chain transaction, just as opening one. Both Node 1 and 2 receive 2.5 million sats deposited to their on-chain address. So, what exactly was the advantage of this approach? In total, Node 1 and 2 made 3 transactions with each other. Opening the payment channel and closing the payment channel cost 2 on-chain transactions. This means that they got one transaction for free. You can imagine that if you make 100 transactions before closing the channel, the advantage becomes enormous. Then you have gotten 98 transactions for free, which you will otherwise have to do on-chain. This is what we mean by taking transaction execution off-chain. It's simply much cheaper and faster. The Lightning Network doesn't consist of 2 nodes, it consists of thousands of them. The beauty is that you can use these nodes to forward transactions. So you don't have to be directly connected to the node you want to send the transaction to. Take this example. Node 1 has a payment channel with node 2, but can still send transactions via node 2 to node 3, 4 and 5. Alright, enough theory, let's get back to our Umbrel. After we save the words, we click on Next. In the next screen, we need to confirm the seed words. Once we've done that, we click on Next. We'll see a warning. So, only start with a Lightning node, guys, if you can afford to lose the money. In the end, it's a hot wallet, and Lightning is still quite experimental technology. So, only continue if you can lose the money. Don't do this with your Bitcoin, your cold Bitcoin that you want to keep forever. We will click on I understand and agree. Our Lightning node is now ready to use. The first thing we will do is change the name of the node. To do this, we click on the 3 dots in the top right corner. In the menu that appears, we click on Advanced Settings. After that, we click on Personalization. In the drop-down that appears, we see the node name, or in Lightning terms, the alias. I changed it to SR Satoshi Radio 4. You can adjust many more settings here, but the default settings are fine for now. We scroll down and click on Save and Restart Node. The default Lightning app from Umbrel is fairly simple. I personally prefer to be able to see a bit more detail. That's why I use the app Write to Lightning, or RTL for short. We go back to the App Store in Umbrel and search for RTL. We click on the app and click on Install in the top right corner. Then we click on Open. The app will open in a new tab. There you will be asked for a password. You can find the password in the App Store screen of RTL, the one we just left. We click on Copy and paste the password into RTL. We then end up on the dashboard. On the dashboard we see a few things. First, we see the menu on the left side of the screen. The 2 most important parts are On-Chain and Lightning. The dashboard is further divided into 4 sections. The first section is your balance, the amount of Bitcoin on your node. Here you can see how much Bitcoin you have on-chain and how much Bitcoin you have on Lightning. The second block is your inbound liquidity. This number indicates how much Bitcoin you can receive. The third block is your outbound liquidity. This number indicates how much Bitcoin you can send. Fourth and final, you can pay and receive Lightning from the dashboard itself. The first thing we need to do is send Bitcoin on-chain to our node. To do this, we click on On-Chain in the menu on the left. We now see the On-Chain page. Here we see how much Bitcoin we have in the On-Chain wallet, and we can generate receive addresses and send Bitcoin. We click on Generate Address. This is the address we're going to send Bitcoin to. We click on Copy Address and then paste it into the wallet app we're going to use. This can be Sparrow, Trezor, Ledger, Blue Wallet, or an exchange. After the transaction is sent, it appears in the list. We click on Actions next to the transaction and then on View Info. A pop-up with info appears. We will copy the transaction ID. With the transaction ID copied, we go back to the Umbrel dashboard and open the mempool.space app. This is a block explorer where we can keep an eye on the status of our transaction. We paste the transaction ID in the search bar at the top right corner. We see that our transaction was mined and included in a block 3 hours ago and now has 22 confirmations. If we go back to the Umbrel dashboard and open the Lightning Node app, the normal one here, we can see that our transaction is indeed confirmed and we see the transaction in our wallet. We transferred about 3.5 million sats, which is about 2,000 euros. Wait a second. 2,000 euros? Are you completely out of your mind, Bart? Sorry. Relax, I know it's a lot of money. The issue is that many large nodes won't accept your channel if you go lower than this. Also, with smaller channels come different problems. You have to rebalance more often and most of the times it's more difficult to find a route. I would really recommend opening a channel of at least 1 million satoshis. Alright, Now that we have the Bitcoin in our on-chain wallet, we can move on to the next step of the process, opening a payment channel. Let's go back to the RTL app. There we click on Lightning in the menu on the left. Then we click on Pairs/Channels, and after that we click on Pairs. We see that we are connected to 4 other nodes, our pairs. To be able to open a channel, you first need to add the node you want to open the channel with to the pair list. So to do that, we click on Add Pair. I want to connect with the Lightning node of the big exchange Kraken. I want to do that because it's a so-called routing node, a node with sufficient capacity, big channels, good uptime, and many connected pairs. To look up the address of the Kraken node, we open a new tab and go to emboss.space. On emboss.space, we search for Kraken. We click on the top option, the one with the most channels, most capacity. We end up on Kraken's profile page. We copy the address and go back to RTL. We paste the address in the pair details field. Then we click on Add Pair. If everything went well, you will now see pair added. We can now immediately move on to the next step, opening a payment channel with Kraken. I want to open a channel of 3.5 million sats, 0.035 Bitcoin. So we fill in that number under the amount. Then we click on transaction type and choose fee, so we can pay the fee ourselves, or rather decide the fee ourselves. If we go back to mempool.space, we see that the last blocks all had a minimum fee of 2 sats per vbyte. But when opening channels, I like to go a bit higher, so I'm sure that my channel is confirmed quickly. That's why I choose 4 sat per vbyte. I leave the other options as they are. Finally, we click on Open Channel. The channel is now being opened. If we click on channels, we also see one pending channel, the Kraken channel. We have to wait until the transaction is included in a block. We click on Pending, Pending Open, and then on Actions. In the pop-up, we copy the channel point, which is basically a transaction ID. We go back to mempool.space and paste the channel point in the search bar. Our transaction will now appear. Now it's just time to wait until it's mined. And there it is. Our transaction is in block 856296. If we go back to RTL, we see that we no longer have any channels under pending. We do have one open channel with Kraken, exactly as intended. Alright, back to the drawing board. So how does this situation actually look like in theory? So we started with our node, SR4. We deposited 3.5 million sats in the on-chain wallet of the node. Then we looked for a good node to connect with. We added Kraken as a pair. Then we directly opened a payment channel of 3.5 million sats with Kraken. These sats are now gone from our on-chain wallet and moved to our side of the channel with Kraken. On the other side, Kraken's balance is 0 at this moment. So we can also phrase this a little bit differently. Our outbound liquidity is 3.5 million and our inbound liquidity is 0. This means we can currently send 3.5 million sats on Lightning, but we're not able to receive anything. If we go back to the dashboard, we see a change. The 3.5 million sats that were initially on-chain have been moved to Lightning. That's correct, of course, they are in our channel with Kraken. We've successfully moved our Bitcoin from the base layer, on-chain, to the second layer, the Lightning Network. Great, time to test the Lightning Network, finally. We go to the dashboard in RTL. There, we can create a so-called invoice. You can compare this to a payment request. We fill in an amount of 2500 sats. A QR code appears on the screen. I scan this QR code with a Lightning wallet on my phone. I use Wallet of Satoshi. After scanning, I see that I need to pay 2500 sats. Perfect. Now it's going to happen, folks. Finally. Are you ready, guys? The Lightning Network. There we go. Payment failed. Well, that's great. I thought we had a Lightning node up and running. Alright, but maybe let's try it the other way around. Can we send money? To test this time I will create the payment request in Wallet of Satoshi. I will create the invoice over there. I click on Receive and create an invoice for 5,000 sats. I copy the invoice and go back to RTL. There I click on Pay and paste the invoice into the text field. Then I click on Send Payment. A pop-up appears where we can check everything one more time. And when everything looks good, we click on Send Payment and boom! Payment received. We've made our first Lightning payment from our own node. But there's still a question in the back of my mind. Why does paying work while receiving sats doesn't? Maybe some viewers have already noticed our inbound liquidity is 0, and that's why we can't receive anything. Sending works fine. Our outbound liquidity is 3.5 million, more than enough to pay an invoice of 5,000 sats. Let's take a closer look at what went wrong. So this is the situation as we know it. Our node, SR4, has one channel of 3.5 million sats with Kraken. Those sats are entirely on our side of the channel. The wallet we use to send Bitcoin to our node is Wallet of Satoshi. They have their own node, which is probably connected to Kraken. We don't know exactly how big that channel is, but that doesn't matter for this example. We can assume both sides of their channel are well funded. Initially, we tried to send 2,500 sats from Wallet of Satoshi to SR4 via Kraken. This means that 2,500 sats are deducted from the Wallet of Satoshi node and credited to Kraken. Then those 2,500 sats are deducted from Kraken and forwarded to me, credited to me. But wait a minute, that's not possible, because there are no sats on Kraken's side in the payment channel we have with them. So the payment is cancelled and you will see an error in the wallet, no route possible. In the second example, we go exactly the other way. We send 5,000 sats to Wallet of Satoshi. This means that 5,000 is deducted from our node. We have 3,495,000 sats left. These 5,000 are added to Kraken, but immediately deducted again in their channel to Wallet of Satoshi. Eventually, the balance of Wallet of Satoshi is increased by 5,000 sats. Payment success! The funny thing is that the total balance of the routing nodes, in this case Kraken's node, remains the same. Only for the sender, my node, SR4, and the receiver, Wallet of Satoshi, does the balance change, with 5,000 in this case. So the lesson is that we need to balance our channels. This means having Bitcoin on our side of the channel, outbound, as well as Bitcoin on the other side of the channel, inbound. To achieve this, we have a few tricks. The easiest way is just to spend money, like we just did. When you pay an invoice, Bitcoin shifts from your side of the channel to the other side. The problem with payments is that the Bitcoin is not yours anymore because you just paid someone with it. An easier way is to use a swap. With a swap, you can exchange between Bitcoin on Lightning and on the base layer. I'll show you how to do that. We open a new tab and go to boltz.exchange. There we fill in how many Satoshi we want to swap, and we have to send them via Lightning. I choose 3.4 million sats, almost everything we have left. We also need to fill in an on-chain address where we want to receive the Bitcoin. We go to RTL, click on the on-chain in the menu on the left, and then click on Generate Address. We copy this address. Then we go back to Boltz and paste the address. To create a swap, we click on the Create Atomic Swap button. We now see a Lightning invoice, a payment request. We are familiar with them now. We click on the yellow button to copy the invoice. Then we go to the RTL dashboard. We click on Lightning and then on Transactions. We click on the Send Payment button. In the pop-up, we paste the Lightning invoice that we just copied from Boltz. We see that we are indeed going to send 3.4 million sats. We click on Send Payment. After a few seconds, the payment is completed. If we go back to the Boltz website, we indeed see that the payment has been successfully completed. We click on Open Claim Transaction. This opens the mempool in a new tab where we can see the status of our on-chain payment. We now just have to wait until it's included in a block. There it is, our transaction ends up in block 856302. If we look at the dashboard in RTL, we can see a change. Instead of 3.5 million sats in outbound liquidity, we now have 3.4 million in inbound liquidity. Additionally, we have 3.4 million sats on our on-chain wallet. Let me explain that. Let's start at the beginning again. We have our node as R4, the Kraken node, and the channel between those two. 3,495,000 sats sit on our side of the channel and 5,000, the one we initially sent, on the other side. So we basically adjusted the balance of our channel by sending money, the 5,000 sats. We then did that again by sending money to Boltz. The Boltz node, like the Wallet of Satoshi node, is connected to Kraken. We sent 3.4 million sats. We have 95,000 sats left on our side of the channel. On Kraken's side, there is now 3.4 million sats, a little bit more. Those 3.4 million sats are immediately deducted from Kraken's side of the channel with Boltz, and they are added to Boltz's side of the channel. Now here's the interesting part. Boltz sends the 3.4 million sats back to our on-chain address. We call this a loop out. This means our total balance is still 3,495,000 sats. Nothing changed. The difference is that we have 3.4 million on-chain and 95,000 sats in Lightning. So we can now send a maximum of 95,000 sats on Lightning. Our outbound liquidity has decreased, but we can now receive 3.4 million sats because that's on Kraken's side of our channel. This means our inbound liquidity has increased. So we've moved almost all of our liquidity to the other side of the channel with Kraken and received 3.4 million sats back on-chain. What we can do now is open a new channel with that on-chain Bitcoin. We have it anyway. So let's try Strike. Jack Mallers. They only accept channels of at least 10 million sats. How about Wallet of Satoshi? We just used it. I mean, we might as well add the node. A minimum of 5 million sats. OKX perhaps? No, you need 4 million sats. And this comes back to what I said before. You need to have quite a few sats laying around to provide liquidity if you want to participate in the Lightning Network with your own node. Many large routing nodes simply don't accept small channels anymore. Fortunately, we can still use the node from Boltz. That's right, the website that we just used to do the swap. We copy the address from Amboss, use that address in RTL to add Boltz as a peer. Then we directly open a channel of 3.4 million sats, all the sats that we have left on-chain. We use a fee of 4 sat per VBuy, just like with the channel we opened to Kraken. The mempool is still the same fee rate. Lastly, we click on Open Channel. After opening, we see one pending channel. We copy the channel point and go to mempool.space. There, we paste the channel point and see our transaction appear. Just like before, we now have to wait until the transaction is included in the block and mined by the miners. And while we're waiting, are you subscribed yet? Yes? No? If not, it's a small effort to do it and it would help me a lot in growing the channel. Thank you. Hey! Do you see that? Look at that, our transaction is mined and is included in block 856304. We now have 2 channels. First, our channel with Kraken. There's 95,000 sats on our side and 3,405,000 sats on Kraken's side. With this channel, we can mainly receive Bitcoin. The second channel is with Boltz. We just opened it. There's 3.4 million on our side and 0 sats on Boltz's side. In this channel we can only send Bitcoin, but combined in total we have 3,405,000 sats inbound liquidity and 3,495,000 sats outbound liquidity. This means, guys, that we can receive and send. Alright, let's test if this works. First, let's see if we can pay. I create a payment request in the Strike app for 50,000 sats. That's another very good Lightning wallet. I copy the invoice. In RTL we go to Transactions, click on Send Payment and paste the invoice we just copied from Strike. Then we click on Send Payment again. Payment sent successfully. We also see the sets coming in the Strike app. Great, this works, nice. Of course, we could already send payments, we already did that. Receiving payments was difficult. Let's see if that goes better now with the extra channel. We go to Invoices in RTL and click on Create Invoice. I choose Hello Strike for the memo. A memo is not mandatory, by the way, but it's nice to keep things clean or to label something. Then I fill in the amount, 40,000 sets. After that, we click on Create the payment request. In the Strike app, I scan the QR code and confirm the payment. We see the 40,000 sets coming in RTL. We receive money on our own node. Congratulations, guys. I mean, you did it. Fully non-custodial. Really cool. Paying from your computer is fun, but of course you want a wallet on your phone. Lightning is meant for buying coffee, beer or other real-life payments, and you don't have your laptop with you when you make those payments. So maybe I will explain you next time. Or, meh. Alright. Let's do something crazy. We will do it now. If you download the Zeus wallet on your phone, I will quickly explain how to connect it to your node. In Zeus, we click on the plus sign in the top right corner and add a new node. I'll name it Umbrel LN node. We leave the interface set to LND REST. The trick we are going to use is to use the Tailscale IP instead of our local IP. If you don't have Tailscale yet, just watch the previous tutorials, we covered it there. This way we can use Zeus outside of our home network as well. We go to Tailscale and copy the IP address of our Umbrel node. We paste that IP address into Zeus. Then we go back to Umbrel and copy the macaroon. We paste that into Zeus as well. Lastly, we fill in the port, 8080. Then we click on I understand, save the configuration, and your wallet is now ready to use. You can see the funds, your channels, you can pay, you can receive, make invoices. It's pretty cool. Alright guys, let's stop there. I think that's enough for this week. But if you made it this far, I mean, pat yourself on the back. It's pretty impressive. You've set up your own non-custodial Lightning node. I mean, this is the most hardcore way to make use of the Lightning Network. And in this way, it's really a layer 2. I mean, when you run your own node, when you manage your own node, you can fully make use of the unilateral exit, which is, like we said before, a crucial part of the of layer 2s and of the Lightning Network. And unfortunately, it's not that easy to use Lightning completely non-custodial. I mean, that's become clear in this tutorial. I mean, it quickly becomes costly because you need your own node. And if that's not enough, you also need to provide liquidity for the channels. I mean, nevertheless, it's worth the effort, in my opinion. The payments I made via my own node in El Salvador when I was there remain the highlights in my Bitcoin journey, but also selling BitAccess, selling socks for my podcast, selling t-shirts, selling merchandise via the Lightning Network without relying on others it's still a highlight for me. So I really recommend to just try setting up your own Lightning nodes. In the upcoming episodes, we'll also explore other options that are maybe easier or cheaper. And we will do some other topics, hardware wallets, and maybe things we didn't do on our Umbrel node yet, like BTCP server, an LNbit server. So please let me know what you would like to see. And the only thing I can say is that you did a great job with the Lightning node. And have a nice day. And until the next Satoshi Radio, see you later. Ciao.